Did you break the logs on the ground? I'm checking on you.
I think it's pretty much impossible to break it off the ground.
I want to make sure you're following the Porsche procedural manual here. Just what you've always dreamed of, having some goof critique your work.
Asking questions?
Follow you around and see. I pose it as a question, but it's really just I want to make sure you're doing it right.
I understand.
Because I'm nervous. I don't trust you. It's a little late for that now, considering we have.
That's the point of no return on that.
So who are we going to point D-nibber on the tires? That's important. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Go ahead. Todd Cooperrider, D-nibbing extraordinaire. All right, so we're getting the wheels off so that we can decon them, coat them. They're satin, so there won't be any correction to them. But we'll be coating them. That's what 325s look like. See, the GT3 has a 305. The RS has a GT3 has a 305 20-inch. These have a 325 21-inch in the rear. What have you guys done with after you coat the wheels with wheel weights? Do they stick? That's the question.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me, I said, I don't know, because I did stance on my Volks for my S2000.
Yep.
So I guess you could probably grab a little piece of Scotch Guard and scuff it up there. I guess. I don't know.
Anytime we do HREs, anytime they get shipped in, we coat them first and then mount and balance them. So we've done it that way. We've done it the other way. We haven't had any issue.
No, we always shut some off. Yeah.
Yep.
Because the stuff they use on those wheel weights are pretty darn.
It's really aggressive.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what's the procedure here? Normal would be like normal prep, normal wet down.
Yeah, so what we did was we put on jack stands, took off the wheels, made it a little bit more accessible for us to install it, raise the car a little bit. If we weren't going to be doing wheels off coating, we would have stuck it on, we have race ramps, we double those up. Saves Brian and I's back, kind of more at eye level. After, I guess we rinsed it off yesterday, once we were done with paint correction, we rinsed it, kind of traced all the seams and cracks with the pressure washer, and then foamed it, and then rinsed it again, pulled it in. Blew it off last night, let it sit overnight. So this morning, first thing that I usually do is do a couple wipe downs, clean wipe downs. So I use GM Prep, we use isopropyl alcohol, and we use baby shampoo mixture to wipe it down.
So baby shampoo is an approved agent for this.
Everybody has kind of their preferred method. Some people use dish soap for installation as well. We use Johnson's baby shampoo. 5 drops for 32 ounces. It's no big secret. Pretty standard mixed solution. The only time that's variable is if the weather, if it starts getting really cold in here, I might have a little bit less soap. If it starts getting really hot, I'll add a little bit more.
This is way better today. Oh, I'm gonna have to go do the wheels, but shoot, I was just gonna sit around and watch and do it. Way better. It's why didn't it work?
Well, I thought the objective was to get you to lay PPF by the end of the week.
No. We're still 50-50 on that, whether this will ever happen again.
So what we're doing now is just cleaning the edges. So religiously cleaning the surface. I mean, like we were talking yesterday off camera, white might sound really good, good kind of color to install paint protection foam on, hide scratches. Well, any little piece of dust or debris really shows on the white.
We need to get an esoteric clean room for future PPF.
Well, you think about it, painters paint in a paint booth that's filtering the air, and they still get little dirt nibs.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how well you clean, it's still a realistic possibility. So one of the challenges with installing film is, you know, it's going to happen. Identify it before you do your final tack.
Yeah.
You got to go fishing then. So you got to get that piece of debris out.
So you'll prep like the front end, or will you prep the whole car, or do you kind of prep it spots at a time?
I try to compartmentalize my installs as much as possible. Otherwise, you get really overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, you thought, you know, we're going to have this done in a couple of days. Well, if this came in as a retail job, you know, I'd work on this car for over the course of 2 weeks.
Right.
You know, I do a panel, do maybe a hood and the bumper, let everything dry out, wrap my edges, tidy everything up, make sure it was, you know, spot on the way we like it. Go do some other retail work, come back and do another fender. This is a little bit different. We're going to do the front end before the event on Friday.
Right.
So everybody can kind of visualize what it's going to look like, have an idea. 1/3 of the car is wrapped.
Yeah.
And then throughout the next week, we'll finish the car.
This might be a bad strategy. I'm gonna bail on it after. Stop! I can't handle it.
Well, I mean, it's a
Now
really
I
good
feel pressure. The Suntek people are here, so I have to do it now.
I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, we're going to set expectations correct. You know,
Yeah.
Jacob, you know, stood up and talked realistically about the film. You know, it's not end all be all. Depending on no matter what brand you're using, it's not impenetrable. It's not completely clear.
Right.
Yeah, we have realistic expectations on everything. Now, there's good installs and there's bad installs, and there's good film and there's bad film. So.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is it's much like window tint. It's the actual product is less important than the install. You know, although there's subtle differences in products, and there's the pros and cons and advantages to the better brands, but the install is key. I mean, you could take a really, really bad window film, put it on there with a really good install. Now, I'm going to prefer that over the best window film and a crappy install.
For sure.
You know, there's no question that the install is the most important part.
So I just did my Geon prep, isoprobe alcohol wipe down. Now we're going to go around the edges with adhesive filler.
Because the edges are the most important part, right?
Yep.
So you can put that on now. It doesn't have to be like on right before you.
Correct. So what this technically does is it chemically etches the surface that you're applying to.
So is this a Suntek specific product?
Nope.
It's just a product you buy from a company.
Probond adhesive promoter.
Now, what about? And we'll get into this probably more. What about what is it? Cutting tape?
Yeah.
Do you use that?
I have not. You know, they've had vinyl knifeless tape for a really long time. And they just came out, I think it became a little bit popular at the beginning of this year, was PPF knifeless tape. I didn't mess around with that.
Because people are going to freak out when they see you grab that scalpel and that's here. But I guess you kind of have to learn pressures, right, of using the knife, because you will have to cut on the car, won't you?
Of course. Yeah, if you're doing any sort of custom installation, you know, I know of some installers that have tricks so that they don't have to.
But if you control pressure, you're not cutting the paint.
Correct. It's perfectly safe with experience, expertise, somebody that's just not being reckless.
Yeah.
You know, it's very easy to cut through the film, but
Probably part of the reason why you don't just try to knock out a car for 36 straight hours.
correct. Yeah, and that's why, you know, when we're
take your time.
retail work, for example, you know, we keep the cars for at least 3 days. So we're not a volume shop, and we don't push in and out work.
Yeah.
We let everything dry naturally, and we use adhesive promoters, but I'm not going to sit here with the heat gun while it's still wet trying to artificially dry the film.
Get it out of here.
We're going to let it do its thing, dry naturally, come back probably after lunch, towards the end of the day, and then wrap the hood.
Right. See, there's a value in that, and so I think most of the people watching these videos, I don't think it's worth I don't think it's smart to go shop around for this kind of, who has the best price, because there's again, install is key on this, and I think I would almost be inclined to find who has the highest price. That doesn't necessarily directly correlate to a quality job, but if somebody tells you, look, I'm gonna wrap your entire car in 24 hours, I'm gonna have a team of 12 guys doing it. I don't think I want that. I think I'm gonna want a low volume, high care place, and I think the only way you can really figure that out is word of mouth, and having actual examples of people that have gone to a place and had a good install experience. My guess is it's probably pretty few and far between finding quality PPF shop to get to do this level of what we're doing in the car.
It's just like transportation. One of our big collections, I'm sure you've probably seen us go down to his collection. He always talks about transportation with value, right? So whenever he ships his car, he's never looking for the cheapest transporter. He's looking for the person that, he's getting exactly what he's paying for at that point. So, trying to haggle over transportation, transporting a $3 million car,
right,
is that really the smartest thing to do? You've worked your whole life to have the opportunity to get this car, and right, you're going to protect it so you can have fun with it. Are you going to negotiate and try to find the best or the cheapest price for it?
Right, and that's, I would argue that in anything in life, any aspect of it. I was wondering what you were about to do with that polish. I'm like, we're done with that. Put that away.
I just like a little elevation. So what we're going to be doing on the hood is using a bulk piece of film. So what that is a measured out a piece of film 60 by 60, and we're going to separate it from the backing, put it on, and then we're going to hand cut everything on this hood.
Why do I feel like this is like too simple? Like I feel like there needs to be more, and we're ready to go. You cut off the piece and we're going to lay it on.
Yeah. So I printed out the whole front end. Later today we can go back and I can show you specifically what we did to manipulate the patterns on the fenders and the bumpers, just so you have an idea.
I'm super interested in that kind of stuff.
So it's disassembled to the point where this is how we're going to install.
Yep.
And we're ready to go. So I'm going to do one last wipe down, cleaning wipe down, just to make sure the surface is completely clean. Then I'm going to spray on some quick detailer. Yes, we do use quick detailer here. And that's to separate, kind of lift up the last minute contamination on the surface, lower the surface tension so dust doesn't cling to it, and then we're ready to go.
So the quick detailer won't affect the adhesion?
Not at all.
Why don't we coat before we put this on?
That's a really good question. And there's been some articles lately. I know some guys down in Atlanta just came out with some articles on that. Quick detailer we haven't found to make any major effect on the installation, right? I've laid paint protection film over coated cars and have had a couple issues during the installation process, but not after the installation process. So it was a little tricky to install it. Some of the adhesion wasn't there like it usually is.
So that's the big, because I think the big advantage of having coating and then the film is then theoretically the film will be easier to get off, that extra layer of protection, whatever you want to call it. But we're just not there yet. Right? It's a perfect solution.
Another example is, okay, we use quick detailer. Well, I'm used to installing with that quick detailer. Right? So Brian and I have developed a routine to combat anything that throws at it. We get cars that come in here just for PPF services that have used, Mother's Ice or, this really high polymer based sealants that we can't get the film to stick to. So we're using Spies Hecker, we're using crazy body shop solvents just to get whatever they put on there so we can actually make some adhesion to the paint. I don't know, there's a healthy medium of protection on the surface and making sure the film sticks.
It's pretty neat. The quick detail. I've never heard anybody doing that before.
Yeah, so I do that simply not for any adhesion issues. I simply do that to make sure there's no dust
Like
And-
between wiping it down and grabbing the film, nothing's kind of like drifting stuck to it. That's the first I've heard of that. That's a good idea.
I mean, especially if you have like people walking around. This is an active shop. I got people coming in the cabinets.
That's one of the most popular questions I get from a technical perspective is just just cleanliness. How do I avoid small debris? Like I'm sitting here cleaning, I put the film on great, but I'm just fighting little pieces of this, that, and other. So that's a good idea.
And that's a reality of installing film that I found. I mean, some people might
Well, it
figure
is.
out a solution. It's you're fighting. You know, once you get that film separated.
It's the same thing as window film, you know. But yeah, I've been to shops that have said that, and I come into their shop and I find out reasons why. Like they have a peel board, but it's over there. So they're like walking the film across the shop. I'm like, well, yeah, you're collecting, but that's a really cool trick. I like that.
So the hood's a solid, what, $75 piece of plastic?
About that. Yeah. One, two, three.
Make sure I got them in frame. Oh, missing it. Missing the gold.
One, two, three.
Dang, that stuff's thick. Way thicker than you think. People are going to be yelling at me and say, oh, you're standing around watching. Just,
We'll get a squeegee in your hand.
just what those guys want you to do.
You can
Sit
do
there-
one pull so you can say you helped.
Sit there critiquing your work, their work.
So we're letting it float, right? So it's completely on top of the surface. We're going to start walking it down.
And in between there is the baby shampoo solution.
Correct. Now I just sprayed alcohol in this corner so I can create a tack. That's going to be my foundation.
What is that, like a 20% IPA or?
It's 99% isopropyl alcohol. We should put about 4 ounces to 32.
So why wouldn't you just use alcohol in the whole darn thing?
Yeah, so, well, on this panel you don't need it so much, but when you're stretching and contouring, I'll show you what we're going to do is conform the PPF to the panel before we start locking it down. So, right, we need a little bit of play.
So you'll do that with heat?
No, we do everything just flat.
Gotcha.
So we need it to contour before we start working it down. So if let's say I start working this section down and I start stretching, that's where you're going to start getting work marks or adhesive distortions.
Gotcha.
So what we do is, like you see what I'm doing here, is we pre-stretch and then I start squeegee.
Gotcha.
Now this hood's not very complex.
Other than the little dip in the middle. But just that little tack there in the corner that's already hanging on.
Correct.
That's crazy.
So I conformed the hood.
So now you're starting to pull it.
Now I'm ready to start working.
Yeah, I guess the hood does make it look a lot easier than what the rest of the car is going to be. Now, doesn't the adhesive respond to pressure a little bit?
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of how it...
So I'm not being overly aggressive with the film, but I am putting pressure on with my...
Pull all the water and air out.
Correct.
And most places have a plotter to do this stuff.
I'd say it's pretty uncommon for a shop not to have a plotter, isn't it?
It is.
There's a couple of guys on the West Coast that just hand cut everything, right?
Yeah, and I've done some trainings in Asia. They bulk everything. But yeah, here in the U.S., yeah, vast majority of shops will have a plotter for at least some parts. It's very common for people to bulk install a hood. But yeah, for bumpers and things that are more intricate, a plotter is really popular for patterns.
So I'll trim this down a little bit, make sure all the edges are locked, and then we'll let it dry naturally.
So you mean you could finish it right now if you wanted to?
You could. I don't know. I found a lot cleaner ability to cleanly wrap the edges once they dry naturally.
So you think I can start offering a DIY kit in my store and make me rich?
DIY PVF?
Yeah. So now what you're gonna do is slightly fold them over but not finish them?
Yeah, so you know, we edge prepped it before. And I just sprayed alcohol along all my edges to make sure that there's no soap solution sitting on the area that's going to be wrapped. Mm-hmm. So I flushed out my edges. And now I'm just making contact with the very top of it, so we don't have any hidden moisture on the edge, and it can fully dry out. Everything should be dried out by 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon. And then we'll take a heat gun and kind of go around the edges really delicately, wrap it on. Probably just going to wrap it to right about here. So there's nowhere else really that you can wrap it underneath. So it will be wrapped to this edge right here, and then we'll hand cut it. Tidy everything up, and then you're good to go.
Piece of cake.
Yep.
What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, foot to the floor.